My name is Gloria Alvarez. I am an ENC 1102 student, and in this video I will be analyzing the 3 parts to my research study, how I struggled and how I succeeded in those, and my final e-portfolio. Transitioning into this class from English 1, I had gained some self-confidence in my writing, and I wanted to keep that self-confidence in English 2. I also had the goals of not procrastinating and being more used to the research study process. Succeeding in ENC 1102 was very important, even more so than ENC 1101 as it revolved around a research study, which many scientists do, which would affect my possible future career as a forensic scientist. Throughout these 3 parts of the research study, I had my personal goals that I had to accomplish, but there were also course learning outcomes set as well that I had to accomplish. The course outcomes that I wanted to focus on were Outcome 2, students will engage in a recursive inquiry-based writing and research process that is meaningful for a specific community. And Outcome 3, students will be able to interpret their research findings in order to produce arguments that matter to specific communities by addressing real-world exigencies. At the beginning of the semester, Dr. D had told us that we were doing a research study, which I was slightly worried about because I had never done one before. The first part of this research study was the research proposal. It was about finding an online community and explaining why you wanted to research that community further. Looking back, I slightly accomplished keeping up the self-confidence that I had in my writing from ENC 1101 to this part of the study. The community I chose to study was the embroidery community on Instagram, which made me feel a bit more confident because it is a community that I am personally a part of. What also helped my confidence in choosing my community was Discussion Board 2, where we had to mention what communities we wanted to explore further. Answering that discussion board meant I would receive peer feedback. The feedback I had received stated that the embroidery community was a unique form of art and deserves to be seen more, as well as everyone can benefit from your research on the embroidery community. This feedback tells me that the choice I made was a good one and that the research I would be doing will help people understand the community more. Actually going into the research proposal, I felt lost because I had never written one before. There was the student sample which gave some guidance, but overall nothing really helped. Because of this, I procrastinated a lot, to the point of me booking a library study room from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. for the 2 days before it was due. Writing it the 2 days before it was due did not help me out and was not a good decision. I feel like I did not accomplish my personal goals in the research proposal. The second part of this research study was the annotated bibliography, which was about finding research that related to our study that other people have done. This included primary sources directly from our community and secondary sources that researched a similar topic. I felt a lot more accomplished in keeping up my self-confidence when writing this part of the research study. I have written annotated bibliographies before, however the last time was in 10th grade, but I knew what to do. What helped with my confidence in creating these annotated bibliographies was Discussion Boards 4 and 5. Discussion Board 4 was about creating research questions detailing what you wanted to research in your community and how you were going to do it. I stated that I wanted to find if multimodal aspects helped writing and communication, and if people were included when they wrote and communicated. This leads me to figure out what my primary and secondary sources needed to be based around. Discussion Board 5 was beginning the introduction for the annotated bibliographies, which was a huge help because I had to actually start on the part before it was due. Procrastination still caught up with me though, and I had done the same thing I did with the first part. I booked a study room for the 2 days before the final draft was due. Despite this still happening again, I felt more accomplished with my personal goals in the annotated bibliographies. The third and final part of this research study was the analytical research essay, which was about analyzing how writing and communication worked in the online community we chose. This was the hardest part for me to write, however I did the best on it. Because I had never done a research study and because it was 3,000 words, I dreaded this part the most and did not feel very confident in my writing. Peer review was helpful, but the most helpful was the student samples, discussion boards 7 and 8. Those 3 things helped my confidence for this part. Looking at the student sample for a guide was helpful because I had no idea where to start, and like the research proposal, I felt lost. Discussion Board 7 was beginning the methodology section to the analytical research essay, which was also a huge help because that meant I had to start some of my essay then, which helped my confidence and helped me not to procrastinate. Discussion Board 8 was about figuring out what visual rhetoric you wanted to add to your essay, such as colors, pictures, and more. This helps me in creating my results section because I had to include pictures from my primary sources to show the research I had gathered. With procrastination on the analytical research essay, I had done pretty well with not doing it. I decided that this was the part I would get my stuff together and not wait for the 2 days beforehand. After peer review, I had rewritten the introduction and methodology section to what I wanted. However, after writing those, I actually did wait for the 2 days beforehand and did the same thing as part 1 and part 2 of the research study. Despite this, my analytical research essay turned out to be the best written out of all 3, and I am the proudest of myself for accomplishing all of my personal goals. After I finished my research study, I was told to make it into an e-portfolio and put it on a website. Choosing the website was not that difficult, and what helped was Discussion Board 10, as we had to talk about what website we would be choosing. What I do is start to make my website on all 4 choices and eventually choose the one I like. I decided to choose Weebly because it was a site I had used before and it appealed to me the most. For the metaphor/phrase, I decided to revolve my portfolio around the word science and the phrase how to, a research study, because my major is in the College of Sciences and this is my first time doing a research study and it could possibly help people in the future. Overall, I feel like I had accomplished my personal goals and the outcomes I decided to focus on, because outcome 2 was what we had been doing all semester, and outcome 3 was the analytical research essay, which was the best out of all 3 parts. I feel good with what I have created this semester.